You've tuned into the Crew Roundtable Podcast, entertaining talk on news and current events. Join us online at crewroundtable.blogspot.com and follow us on Twitter at Crew Roundtable. Or take us with you by subscribing to our podcast on iTunes or by adding our podcast feed to your favorite podcatching app.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural podcast of the Crew Roundtable. This is episode 1 with the brightest minds of the GTA and surrounding area. Let me introduce everyone around the table. To my left, I have Big V. Next to him, Tito.
Yo.
Our program director, Breeze.
Hello.
And last but not least, JR.
Welcome to be here.
Great. Glad everyone can make it. This is something that's been in the making for a long time. Been waiting a long time for this. So what we do here, we throw the topics out, and everyone just has their opinion. Maybe a little bit of argument or two.
And before we get started, I think you also deserve an introduction.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I am your host, your moderator, your marshal, the champ. Things start moving slow. We got to push you on to the next hole.
Okay, so let's get started here with a topic the first. Now, I already forget what we said that we were going to talk about, but I think we were going with the hydro bills that everyone is receiving here in the province of Ontario recently, within the past few months. I see everyone around the table nodding. You've all received yours.
Yeah.
Let's remind everyone that we are in Ontario for those that are outside of the country. And in Ontario, the province of Ontario, thank you, Big V.
No,
and
also outside of the province, not necessarily just the country.
Well, okay.
Hey, the province of Ontario does more business than many European countries, so people should know where Ontario is.
It isn't a matter of fact. It isn't a matter if they know where Ontario is whether they care.
If they don't care, they're free to listen elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get. Okay, this is not Introduce Ontario show.
Okay, let's
true.
get started then.
Okay,
So, bills.
go ahead.
So, for those people who are unaware and don't pay their own bills here in Ontario, there are a couple of different systems. Some people receive their water and their electricity bill together on the same bill. Some people get different bills. Now, we've had a bit of a boondoggle here in Ontario with everyone's bills going up, and the government lying to our faces, and the provincial government saying, no, your bills are actually going down. And I believe that they also just recently were shamed into stopping some of their green energy production.
Yes.
They canceled some contracts.
They canceled
Yes.
some contracts.
Or ceased issuing anymore.
So is anyone more familiar with that? Big V?
Not too much on my end.
About the contract
About
cancellation?
the contract
Basically,
cancellation?
people are small companies providing other sources of power with regards to either solar or to wind, and the government handing out contracts for that for 20 years? Is that what you're referring to?
Also, it's also the history of skullduggery with this government here, because they also were the ones that promised some of the farmers guaranteed rates for getting in on their solar power production. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
I do.
And then as soon as the farmers invested,
They
put
got
all the
screwed.
money in, they got screwed 6 ways from Sunday
How?
because they dropped the guaranteed rate. So the
Yes.
farmers went in and
I
they
believe
said
the rate used to be something along the lines of like 43 cents a kilowatt.
it was ridiculous.
For them to produce, and I think they dropped to literally like half. the amount.
After everyone said, okay, so we're going to use the information you gave us, they put in the solar farms, they bought in everything, and they turned around and they screwed those farmers.
Yeah, basically at that time they projected that to recover the costs of the infrastructure or the capital needed for the infrastructure to, with regards to the solar cells and so forth, the time period to gain that back was anywhere between 15 to 20 years, in which people would be, I guess, making a profit. after they slashed the rates in which the government would give back to them, who the hell is going to be alive after 40 years? So basically, that's where Eugene is going by when he says he got screwed.
But this is not only farmers, right? Like
It's anybody.
It was everybody.
But the farmers, because they have the land.
I know people who put solar panels on their roof.
Okay, but that means nothing. Like that square footage with regards to the paneling produces minimal with regards to what farmers and their vast land that they have.
But so did everybody get their rates cut, or was
Yes.
it just farmers being
No,
singled out and screwed over?
When the first signers kept it, and then they cut it for the because it was still guaranteed. They couldn't retroactively change it.
Yeah. So
But,
how could they change this?
Because it wasn't just solar. It was everyone who contributes power back to the grid gets this elevated rate.
Yeah.
I think a lot of facilities that generate their own power for their internal use
Yeah.
or selling
Or any excess.
They were selling their excess back to I think the math started to not add up.
Oh yeah. Well.
It was a stupid idea to begin with because they're basically paying us with our own money.
Well, right. It's not a plan that's made to turn a profit for the government, right?
The initial idea was intended to spur not just green energy, but the production of green energy machinery in Ontario.
Yeah.
They had the idea of actually having giant windmills,
Yes.
with windmill companies building windmills in Ontario. That was the initial. That was the entire plan.
But it's
Don't
all
see too
it's
much
all
of
on
that.
borrowed money, right?
What do you mean borrowed money from whom?
Well, I mean, from it's paid by taxpayers, right?
Yeah, that's why it made no sense. But I think they were trying to invest. I think they were just trying to spur it, and therefore, when the business came in, when manufacturing settled in Ontario, that would kind of
Yeah,
even
they were
things
looking
out.
basically to start it off to give interest to outside sources or outside companies to come in and begin kind of like they do in California with the vast windmills and the vast solar panels that they have producing juice for them. They wanted to basically stir that up and have it, start their own little green energy in Ontario.
Yes, the same green energy that they just kiboshed.
Yes.
Well, it didn't work out. What can I say?
Well, so because I mean, you got to make a decision whether if moving forward with green energy is something that you prioritize over a balanced budget. That's obviously the direction they were going, and
But they
obviously
are
they figured out.
not. But they are not making a decision. It appears they are not making a decision from sound economic principles. It appears that they are being shamed into doing the right thing. Shamed into doing the right thing.
Well, why
is
is
that how you want a government to operate, on shame?
Why is it?
I thought that was more than like 3/4 of the governments everywhere. That was how they function.
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, though, because if public opinion changes, then they got to do what the public wants. It becomes like the inmates running the asylum at one point. You come up with an idea to see if it and you feel a lot of everything that has to do for economics is a guess at best. Because economics doesn't follow any real rules. That's why this trickle-down economics never caught on. It was just a big fucking blue
I
dog on the neck case.
completely disagree with you. I completely disagree with you. Because they have people who study this for a reason, right? There's a reason why there's a school of economics, right? Because you can study it. And of course, there's that old joke. If you go to an economist and you don't like what he says, you go knock on the other one's door and he'll give you a different answer, right? Mm-hmm. But there are some tried and true principles that you can go by. And people use these every day when they're even working on their own finances. But everything, as soon as you hit the government, it's screwed. Now, we might jump ahead here topic-wise, but again, for people who live outside of Ontario, people who live outside of the GTA, I don't know if you're familiar with the Toronto Transit Commission. Okay?
Now let's not skew off too far
We're not
here.
going to
Let's not
skew off too far. We're not going to skew off too far. But that is the kind of thinking that you get into when you cannot go bankrupt. That's the kind of thinking you get into. Because you do all of these things, and they did not cancel all of these contracts last year. They did not cancel all of these contracts when the election was there. They ran on a certain platform, and now, because the election is coming up again, because we've got fixed election dates here in Ontario, now they're suddenly starting to change their tune. Now you're going to start seeing things on your bill where it says, you saved X amount of dollars, because the government's trying to show you that you saved money. You didn't save money. You're just not taking money from me.
That's right. Yeah.
right? I didn't save anything. You guys screwed up, and now you're allowing me to keep a little bit of my money because you're scared for your jobs. Now, I don't know why this Liberal government should be scared for their jobs, because this seems like no matter what they do, people just keep voting them back in.
I don't know how they got away with that spin. I don't know, because they're selling it as if they're saving us some money, but they're not. You're right.
It was the same people who said, "Oh, your bills are actually going lower," and they looked me in my face and they stood up in question period, and the ministers got up there and said, "Well, we're seeing bills actually going lower." It's the same thing. They're flat out lying.
When was this?
Over the summer,
Yeah.
when the first wave of AC bills came in,
Yeah.
and then you phone PowerStream and you say, "I think there's something wrong with my meter."
Right.
Oh no, you had your AC on. Oh, I did, really? Yeah, okay, my ass. I don't think so. They come and they lie to you.
Okay,
and they can do it with impunity, because the people of this province, if anyone within the sound of my voice is thinking of not holding these people accountable, I ask you to please reconsider. What is it, October 2017? Or September? 2017 is the election, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
2017. Just please take a few moments and think twice before you vote. Because there's a long-standing tradition in this country. We don't vote governments in, we vote them out. So just think about what you're going to do before you get up there. I mean, I don't know who the other parties are going to be. Sorry, not who the other parties, but I don't know who the other leaders are going to be. And of course, we could have someone. Was it John? Was it John Tory who said he was going to subsidize private schools for the rich?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he was going to No, he was going to create a bunch of different boards, like for different religions.
Based on religions.
Yeah. So the way it worked out is people who were already in private school and already had a lot of money, they were going to get subsidized. They were going to get
No, but it wasn't private. It was subsidies for. He was going to create more boards.
more religious boards, right?
Yeah, more religious
Yes.
focused schools.
So there could always be someone who comes up with an idea that just torpedoes their own campaign, right?
That was a problem that nobody wanted a solution. No one was asking.
Exactly. So we don't know what we're going to get to vote for in October of 2016 or 2017, but these people who are in power right now, this whole Wynne government, which stretches all the way back to Dalton McGuinty, 15 years of just mistake after mistake after mistake. So I'm at the point where I'm saying vote for anyone else.
We were talking about electricity.
Yeah, well, it's linked.
It's all fluid. It's all fluid.
My personal opinion is maybe we should just give them a minority government, keep them under a good leash, because I really don't want to give this province back to the Conservatives.
I have to agree with him on that one.
I can see that point.
Harris
I
went
can
and
see
cut OAC to save money, and I didn't get a fucking tax break. Every goddamn corporation in Ontario got a tax break.
And Hudak's platform was basically to fire like a quarter of the provincial government.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he wondered why he didn't win.
Precisely.
I can't say I disagree with him.
I'm also a little concerned they're going to end up rolling back the new sex education in grade schools.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, back to the hydro bills.
Sorry.
We were
Back to the hydro bills.
I've got a very basic question. I don't know if anyone can answer.
Go ahead.
So our hydro rates have gone up. So price per kilowatt.
That is correct. At specific times
Like
during the day.
I'd say
And there's peak pricing.
right. So
when
that started let's say 5 years ago, right?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't remember exactly, but it's not
Yeah,
it's not
roughly.
recent. It's been around.
Time of use.
It's five
No,
to
actually,
time
no,
of use,
more.
like
It's-
5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Around,
Wait. I think that one of us here at the round table actually made an app.
I did.
You did. So
I did.
what happened?
It was the time of use is about. It's just the time of use just gives you a quick reminder of what zone you're in terms of thing. You flip the app on, it takes the time and the date and tells you if you're in a red, green, or yellow usage zone. So you don't have to keep checking what time it is.
So when this time of use,
So why don't you take a second and plug that app? What's the name of it?
It's a time of use app. I haven't publicly released it
If
yet.
I
It's an
remember,
Android platform
okay,
app.
if I remember,
Oh, it's in beta.
to ask
It's still in beta, yeah.
You're waiting for
answer
round one of
Mark-
angel investing.
Precisely.
No, okay, I got
To
it.
answer Tito's question
Sweet
here.
angel cat.
Sweet angel cash.
To answer Tito's question here, I believe you were going to say what were the specific times during the day?
no. I don't, the times they varied a
I
little
think
bit.
you meant
at
when
the
it was
time.
implemented.
And it
Oh,
depends.
it was
on,
about 7 or 8 years ago.
When did McGuinty get originally elected? What year was that?
Who the hell knows?
Geez,
That's
90.
Too long ago now.
Was it in the 90s?
No, 2000. 2000. He made. I remember there was a big thing where he was in a debate and he said the wrong year. He said something like it's 2005. So I want to say 2003. Maybe he got elected. He was off. He was off by a couple of years. It's got to be the early twos.
Yeah.
Early twos, I think.
I just remember the stupid campaign that Hydroget came up with, like, cut your hydro bills by 10%, and then they turned around and said, "Hey, no one's using any electricity. We have to boost the rates." What the fuck is
Yeah.
that?
When was that?
You got to
Oh,
conserve.
it was well before every
I think we need that explicit tag.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll take it out in
already laid
post.
the smack
Keep
down.
going. Keep going.
JR, this is your first warning,
First, this is the second time you used that.
but I'm
bomb.
warning him for the first time.
Yellow
You're-
card. Yellow
you're
card.
slow,
I guess
man.
I
You're
guess
the
what I
champ.
want to
Come on.
say what I want to say is everybody's complaining about their hydro bills, and
Yes.
I get it because some people are getting huge bills, and so the price per kilowatt hour is higher than it was at the outset of the what is it called, time of use.
Time of use.
Yeah,
Time
when
of
it
use.
began, I believe the
the
peak
rates-
was about 9 cents,
Yeah,
and
so it's
the
double.
the off peak was approximately
4.
5.
You have that
Yeah.
bill now. It's almost.
Yes,
It's pretty much
it is
double
doubled.
that.
Now it's
It is
so
yeah.
they've doubled in let's
Yes,
say
the
7
peak
years.
currently peak is 18 cents.
So the question
and the
is,
off
why
peak
did they
is
double?
almost 9.
What do you mean?
Why did they double? Why did they double? That's why the electricity costs more.
No. Because it's not within the past few years that you've seen a gradual increase in your bill. The point is, over the past 6 months, people have seen their bills spike,
Okay, but why?
and some people have, and some people haven't.
But why?
No one knows.
So you're telling me that there's a calculation error for some people's bills?
Do you know how many things are hidden on that bill?
No.
There is not a line item on that bill that tells you exactly what you're paying for. It's all rolled up.
But I don't know. My bill tells me.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's a-
Go
here's-
Well,
ahead.
you have
Go ahead.
your usage,
So
you have your
here's a bill.
delivery.
Okay, read it off. So usage?
On peak usage.
Yes,
Delivery.
keep going.
It's number of kilowatts
Yeah.
times the price per kilowatt.
Keep reading.
Mid peak,
Yeah.
same calculation.
Yeah.
Off peak, same calculation. Then
Yeah.
there's a delivery charge.
Okay, and how much is that delivery charge?
Well, it's roughly 25% of the 30% of the bill.
Okay.
It's substantial.
And you know how
And
much
what- so
stuff
what
is
that
buried
is-
in that?
Yeah, I don't know what's in that.
That goes back to all the contracts. And I believe that Champ mentioned that before, where he said that we're paying more. Hold on, the contracts that were signed, we're paying. We sold power. Hold on, how does it go? The excess power.
The excess, the power that we don't use?
Yeah,
Oh, that gets sold at a cheaper rate across the border.
yeah.
Yeah, to the U.S. or to Quebec.
Or
At a
we-
loss.
Or we
At a
have,
loss.
Yeah, we have to pay them to take it.
No, I don't know. We don't pay them to take it. But think
I think
about
there's
that.
instances
No,
where you have to
but
pay
think
them
about
to
that.
take it.
These are the same people, and the government sat up there again in question period and said, we're also paying more because we conserved. So we didn't use enough power.
Yeah,
So
okay,
we're
but-
paying more.
But that's a physical reality that's unavoidable.
Okay. That makes no sense.
What do you mean that doesn't make sense?
That makes no sense because the government is telling us to conserve,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
The government sent Big V. Didn't they send out coupons recently for light bulbs?
They've been sending out coupons since basically compact fluorescent bulbs were in stores over the last, 7 years, 8 years to entice, simply because conserving is obviously cheaper than improving on infrastructure. And let's straight, is PowerStream, is it traded on the market? Its shares?
Hydro One is traded.
Okay. We'll
I
use them
believe.
as an example. Okay. How do you
Whether it's traded
how are
or
you gonna
not,
make,
it doesn't
how are you
matter.
gonna make
It's
more money?
revenues,
How are you gonna make
right?
more money? Improving your infrastructure, or have people you conserve and use less electricity, which means you had to spend less on an infrastructure, saving more money for you and for the guys who own your stocks, and at the same time, you know what? We're gonna raise the rates because that's time after years, everything gets risen.
So think about it. Conservation, central pillar of the energy policy. Okay? The people listen. They conserve.
After that
We
blackout,
save energy.
it's all because of that blackout.
The saved energy gets sold for less than what we're paying to conserve, and then we get charged more because we didn't use enough. That's the hamster wheel we're in. So once again, 2017, everyone please take your time in the voting booth. There's no stopwatch there. Vote responsibly. As my high school principal once said when there was a joker who was running for presidency, vote responsibly.
So what's the price in other jurisdictions, and how has that changed over the past 7 years?
Who cares? I don't live it there.
No, but that's the important question. Like you can't.
No, it's not.
you
I
can't-
know what it costs here.
You can't sit here and complain that your bill is higher
Yes.
and say that that's unfair if everyone else around you in
Tito's
every
got a
other
good point.
jurisdiction.
Tito makes a good
But
point.
it's
If that's the way the market's
high.
No, but I
But
think
it's high for various
we
reasons.
are one of the highest. We
Okay.
pay one of
we
the
talking
highest
about- we talking
rates.
about within our country?
Quebec
Are we
is in the
talking about-
same situation
Are we talking
too.
about
I
within
think
North
they,
America? Because compared to some of the
In
states
the
the
states,
U.S.,
the power companies are privately run, and they charge whatever. They're still somewhat regulated, but they charge.
This
a
is
lot.
why I don't think it's fair to make a comparison anywhere, because we live in this jurisdiction and we're doing what our government encourages us to do, and then we get screwed for it. If you're paying the real rate of whatever it is, then I agree with you. That's the real price.
okay, I think
Well, I assume it's the real
to try and
price. I mean,
answer
like,
answer
to use-
Tito's question is, we may need to actually compare the last 2 or 3 bills that we've received in the last 6 months, and we need to compare them with bills from the exact same time period last year or the year before, and look at how much they're charging for their each peak rate. All right.
Oh, it's more,
And but we have to see the amount of usage. We have to see if the usage has actually changed. If the usage is still the same, you're paying more because they're charging us more. If the usage is not the same within the same time period of 1 year before or 2 years before, then you got a problem.
But
Then
this is
you're
what
using
I'm
more
trying to
juice.
get you to understand. Even if you use less, the government has come out and said, you use less, we're charging
Now,
you more.
we need to
Now-
make more
now-
money. We
now-
didn't make enough money
didn't
from you
make
guys.
enough
As
money
Breeze
from you.
indicated, if you look back 2 years ago,
I'm going to go home, turn my AC on, and open up all the windows.
And 2 years ago, you're using
because I'm trying
more
to conserve.
electricity than we were.
That's
we
the
have-
ludicrous
So
bit
what?
we're in.
So what should they
Sorry.
do? Turn around, lower the hydro bills, and then jack up your interest rate, your tax rate. I mean, the government's got to run on something. It's pay me now or pay me later.
Let's go through the back door. Let's approach this through the back door.
I don't like backdoor.
Yes, you do. I know.
Explicit tag, explicit.
So, what you're saying? So let me try and understand what you're saying. You're saying we're getting shafted in the
for conserving.
on our hydro bills.
Yep.
So where do you think that money's going?
Who knows where it goes?
To the contracts that were signed.
And canceled.
No,
You
Oh,
don't think the government uses any of that for as revenue?
I mean, I would think the government takes them, but with the contract signed, I'm sure those people, those agreements, they were promised a certain amount of money.
they're binding.
Yeah, they got
Right?
They would think they have to be fulfilled.
It's like,
right?
yeah.
Right.
So it's like, you promised us this much money. Okay, we got to raise those rates.
And on those bills, you don't get an itemized breakdown of exactly where everything goes. Like we said, that delivery charge, it just fluctuates up and down every bill, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that based on how much you used?
I have a funny-
That delivery
I
charge
have a funny
is based.
feeling more people took them up on it than they expected. And
Okay.
and
You don't
and the-
know
and-
what
and
goes
the
in there.
expected,
It's exactly the
industry
same as the
never
Enbridge
swooped
bill.
in.
Why do we pay
So that
$20
tax
every
freeze
month on
never
an
happened.
Enbridge bill, and all it says is customer
You gotta take a
charge?
gamble
Customer
and-
charge.
and try
$20
something
bucks. I have a I
What
pay
are we
I
gonna do,
use
do mine all the
$6
time?
of gas, and yet every bill they charge me $20 just because it's customer charge.
And then you get charged tax on top of that $20, right?
Yes.
So
You get
we don't
taxed-
know-
We get taxed on everything.
So we don't know what goes
We
in
get taxed
there.
maybe on tax. We
Actually,
just don't know it.
That's exactly the point. There could be tax on
The
top of tax.
HST, the
don't know.
HST is dropping from the hydro bill. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, well, that's how they're bending over and pretending.
You're gonna
like
save
they're giving us something
$2.45.
back.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I
Yes,
know.
my last
talking
two
about
bills,
45
Well, the
every 2
HST on-
months.
The rates
No, actually,
still stay the
HST
same.
was $28 on this $250 bill that I have here, and then on the previous one was $21 off of a bill that was $187.
Yeah, well, it's 8%. Okay, so fine, but if it actually costs them this much money to give you the electricity, and they're taking off that HST, it's not as if they're not going to recoup that by some other means, right?
But they
what
have
you're
to
really
tell
saying-
you.
the real thing that you're saying is
What is the real thing
is
I'm
that
saying?
they're charging us more compared to 7 years ago, double. They're charging us double. I'm just choosing a number.
No, I think
No,
Breeze
because
is
there's-
I think what
extra-
Breeze is
because
trying to
there's-
say
And so,
is
but my question is, where's the money going? And you're saying it's going to
We don't know.
fund corruption.
Are you
Possibly.
saying that I'm saying the Liberal government in Ontario is corrupt?
I think so.
I don't know if I would say that. I certainly feel that. But I don't know if I would say it.
I mean, I'd be far from it.
I'm sure there will be
honest.
some people who may agree with that. And I'm sure that if one was to sit back and contemplate what has been happening with the Liberal government in Ontario, that corruption could be a very logical
I would
outcome
go as far as
of
say
that
that
thought
any
process.
government that is in power within Ontario or Canada eventually do become corrupt, simply because it's just so damn easy.
if they stick,
And
if
we're
they
so
stick
passive,
around, if they stick around,
we just
long
don't
enough.
care.
Yeah, any government gets their roots in long enough. You do have to change them pretty quickly.
That's why, once again, 2017, vote responsibly.
Okay, you know what? Take away that responsibly. Basically, any government that we get ends up sucking in the long run, simply because we don't revolt enough in this country.
I would say a minority government would probably be the best. It keeps anyone from having any kind of unilateral power.
And quite often
Unilateral
prevents
power.
anything from actually getting done, but still.
So-
You know what? It keeps
But
bad ideas
who,
out.
but who leads that minority?
I would still say someone on the left wing side. I wouldn't trust. I wouldn't trust.
You
right
are
wing.
on crack.
I wouldn't trust anyone. On the
You
right.
are a crack baby.
Breeze, this is your warning. Stay on topic.
Okay.
Now, is it worth conserving? Should we still use LEDs?
My answer,
Should we
my
change
answer is
our-
no. My answer is no.
Forget it. Earth hour, I'm turning everything on.
Twice.
All my lights.
Twice.
All my TVs.
Listen. It's
The dryer.
It's got to be worth conserving because it's not all about the money.
Thank you, Tito. I totally agree.
It's not all about the money. If the government is screwing things up
Oh, this is going to be rich.
and wasting money and you're paying more out of your pocket, that might be a function of just a bad government. But conserving power use is the only way to go forward.
What are you talking about? You can generate more power. We're generating more power than we need.
But we generate too much. Obviously, we generate too much because we
generate
last
too
winter
much.
We had too much power.
That's,
So
that's
why are
because
people
we
so-
use because one of our prime power is nuclear power.
Which it should be.
But you
Which it
cannot.
should be. You
No,
can't shut it
it's
off.
not great. You cannot regulate. You cannot throttle it. Unfortunately, and therefore, once you start up a nuclear reactor, the output is constant. It's not great because you can't. The nuclear waste afterwards is a lot, and there's no safe way to put it.
Shoot it into the sun.
Okay, if we're gonna do sci-fi answers here, then let's just get the Tesseract and solve the whole world's power.
That's right. The Mind Stone, the Infinity Stone. Just look, Ben. The nuclear reactors that we have, okay? It works, right? It's old.
As a power source, yes, but it's not just about the power. What do you think happens once the fuel is spent? Where do you think that goes? Away? There's no such thing as away.
In a very,
But
very
they've
deep
been
mine.
they've been doing things with the spent nuclear power rods. They've been doing stuff like that since the power was invented. They've been
I
doing
don't know
stuff
what they
with
do
it.
with it.
Okay.
But
Depleted
It gets
uranium in
buried up north.
oh,
in
really?
armor pieces,
So
armor
it's
a
piercing.
very deep mine.
So it contaminates someone's water supply.
No, this is below the water supply. This is like way down.
And if we are already producing more than we need, right? Then it's doing its job. It's the Deus ex machina of all our energy needs. It's producing more than we need, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need to go into all of these programs, such as the green energy programs that screwed over all the
But
farmers.
that's not the point.
The government doesn't need to spend money telling us to conserve when we're already, conservation is good, so we're already doing that. The government doesn't need to sell the excess power at a loss. It is mismanagement at every single level from this government. Every single level. And it might not even just be this one. It could be all of the governments combined, because they're trying to serve so many masters where people want cheap power. We have the ability to give them cheap power, and no one is giving us cheap power. Is that not what it boils down to?
Who says we're supposed to have cheap power?
We should get the
Who's entitled to cheap power?
the people across
We
the
are.
border get cheap power. We're supposed to get the cheap power.
We produce it.
There's
And any excess
There's a huge
can be
proportion.
sold.
We're not
across the board.
single-handedly supplying their whole power source.
there's a huge proportion of the planet that has zero
Yeah,
electrical
exactly.
power. So
What point are you trying to make?
the point I'm trying to make is that
Dial it back for me. What point are you trying to make?
the expectation that we have cheap power is it's almost immoral.
Yeah, it's a sense of entitlement.
The fact that
Why is it immoral?
the fact that we've had it
Yes.
doesn't mean that it can continue in perpetuity.
Who's talking about in perpetuity? I'm talking about today. We already make more than we need.
Yeah, we should make less.
So in a market economy, when you have more than you need, when you've got more supply than
should be
demand,
cheaper.
it should be cheaper.
Right. But that's not
So
how
take this
electricity
all the way
works.
back to the economics department
That's
at
not how
university.
electricity works.
Why not?
Because you cannot stop production on a dime.
You can't stop production, but you can scale up and down.
Yes, but that's not instantaneous.
Okay? It's not instantaneous,
dimmer
no,
switch.
but you can scale up and down. You can scale to meet the needs. Much as, and I'm going to go back, and I don't know if the champ is going to let us transition here to Toronto Transit Commission, but you can.
You've got one free pass, Freeze.
Okay. Just like the Toronto Transit Commission did nothing for 40 years to address transit issues in the city of Toronto, and now they will be forever playing catch up to a race they cannot win. Win. See, you like how I did that? Win. They are going to, they have no chance to meet the needs, the transit needs of the people of Toronto and the surrounding area. And the government, if we're already making more than we need, why are we paying more for electricity going forward?
I think I see where I think this breakdown. You're misconstruing the excess.
You don't know what misconstrue means.
I do know what it is. It's not. We're not vastly producing more than we need. I would imagine during daytime hours, during the summer, we're probably meeting capacity.
Hold on.
Let me finish.
You're
Listen, please.
talking about meeting the load expectations.
Let's give JR a chance here. JR, go ahead. You have the floor.
Come evening, after 6 o'clock, the load drops. You can't turn a reactor offline. How long does a reactor run for? Probably a couple months or weeks. I'm not quite
It's
sure.
radioactive.
No. I'm talking about when a reactor is started up. How long does that power? How long does it start?
Before they have to replace the rods.
Yeah, it's not. That's not regulatable. And maybe they do regulate it during the seasons, like during the summer months they got 6 reactors going, and in the winter they drop it down to 4. Who knows? But there's a market drop between morning. During the day and during the night. That's why the power the price drops at night, because it's cheap and because there's more supply than demand. That's why time of use in the evening. They're encouraging you to shift washing your clothes at noon versus washing your clothes at night. But you can't just regulate a nuclear reactor within hours within the day.
We're not talking about regulating within the day. Okay? We're talking about there's planning, there's good government, there's making proper estimates, there's making a budget and sticking to it, right? There should be no surprise that the energy needs will continue to go up. There are more people coming into Canada, there are more people settling in the Greater Toronto Area. The energy needs will only go up because we happen to live in a very affluent part of the world, okay? So we are always going to need more power. So you're always going to have more power ready to go. What I'm getting upset with is, in terms of regulating that power when we need it, and then we're selling the excess cheaper than the power that we are already using. If anything, the power that is excess that's being sold should be cheaper than what we need.
But that's the problem, because it's excess. In the evening, it's not excess 24 hours a day. I don't think we're producing so much power through the whole day. At night, if we're selling off the evening excess, there's too much demand, it's cheaper, that's why they're selling it off cheaper. I'll bet you at noon, on a sunny day, in the middle of July, we're probably not selling very much electricity during working hours. I think you're misunderstanding that we're selling this vast. We're powering Quebec, and they don't have to do anything themselves. I think that's a misunderstanding.
Don't start talking about power in Quebec, because it's vastly different. Right? The government of Quebec steps in. They get subsidies on top of subsidies in Quebec. There's things they pay for in Quebec that we pay for here, and they think we're mad.
Quebec's had a serious over budget providing by the government. Okay. Remember the university protests a couple of years ago?
Yes.
So let's not get into government handouts.
I think it was more than a couple.
I think you're overestimating how much excess is being produced on a daily basis.
If it's being sold at a loss.
Because when it's in excess, the demand is less. I'm sure Quebec's got their own power excess. You think they're going to pay prime dollar for our excess power?
That's what I heard. That Quebec has the same problem, that they sell their power across the border at like 20%. Like it's like they have the same issues as us.
Because now you're dumping power. You know, you scale. The system is scaled so that it meets the needs at peak. When the system is no longer at peak, you can't shut the reactors off at night. The power is constant. Unfortunately, at night, the value of that power is now at its base.
When the government tells me that I'm paying more because I bought into their system of energy conservation, so I'm being penalized because I didn't use enough power, there is a fundamental flaw in the system, and someone needs to get voted out.
Well, that's a different argument.
That's the argument.
You're not paying more because you conserved.
That's exactly what the government said.
Yes, we are.
That's exactly what the government said.
That's what
They said we did not did it enough.
A year ago, we compare how much electricity was used compared to this year, and if for some reason, if you used more last year and you paid less than this time around, where you used less and paid more, okay, then we have an issue.
I'm going by what the elected officials of the province are telling me, where they stood up and they said, you did not use enough power.
So we're not making enough money off of you.
We're charging you more.
Yeah, but this is two separate issues.
That's the only issue I'm concerned with.
If you're concerned, we're not paying more because you've conserved power. We are paying more. Number one is because we need to offload excess power, and that's an indirect result of conserving. And
so I should use more energy so there's no excess power.
But of course, that's not what that's not the road that we should go down as a society, is to try to use more power because we happen to be overproducing it at any given time and we have nowhere to dump it. That's not the right way to move forward. The right way to move forward is to produce less and use less, and have mechanisms in place that are more sensitive to fluctuations in use.
That might have been what the whole intent of the green power was to begin with. Where
it probably is, because a whole bunch of solar panels is a hell of a lot easier to
turn off and on.
To remove from the grid. The problem is there's not and you'd have to cover the entire province in solar panels to power industry from 9 to 5.
And so when they cut the rates that they were going to give these people and essentially put the kibosh on the whole solar power paneling, was that in your estimation then an example of good management and good governance?
No, that's another reason why we're paying more, probably, is because there's some sort of mismanagement.
Vote
There's canceled
responsibly.
Canceled gas plants?
canceled gas plants, like all this stuff. Of course, we're paying for that, either on our hydro bills or through higher taxes or any of that stuff. But if you think that there's another government out there that is going to win an election, that's not going to pull the same kind of hijinks,
And again,
kidding.
ignore the vote responsibility part from Breeze there, because it makes no difference.
It's a history. It's a history of mismanagement. Okay, and sometimes it doesn't even come down to the dollars and cents.
That's true.
Look at what happened recently with was it the aids for Trudeau? They had some moving expenses paid for. Okay,
6 figures worth.
6 figures worth, right? What's 6 figures on the balance sheet of the federal government?
I don't know, some very small proportion. Right?
Peanuts.
Yeah.
Peanuts. But the larger issue is inappropriate use of funds, public funds, okay? Public trust. So if they can't keep the little things in line, what are they going to do on the big things? That's what it all comes down to. Who do you trust to be there?
I don't trust anybody who's a politician to rule.
That's cynical, and it shows you're very jaded.
No, I'm not jaded. I think it's.
That's exactly what it shows.
Gentlemen,
That's
That's
gentlemen,
We're
exactly
getting
what it
off
shows.
topic badly.
we're getting off topic, but we're also going to go down to the last word. So we're closing this topic off. I want to thank you all for joining me at the table for this great discussion. Any last words going around the table, Big V?
I think I have more concern on figuring out why the Champs electrical bill was so high in comparison to my own. And forget the rest of the province. They can all screw themselves. I only care about Big Champ here.
Down the street, you live down the street from each other, and
Yes.
the variance in the bills,
The
ridiculous.
variance of the bills was somehow he used 2,500 watts in a 60-day period, and I only used 1,330, and his house is like 100 square feet bigger than mine.
And because you conserved, by the logic we've established here, you should be charged more. So you should send a check over to the government
But
because
he
you
wasn't.
conserved.
No, you should send a check over to me.
His bill was how much smaller was your bill than his?
$100.
No,
So he
my
conserved?
bill was
He paid less?
approximately $150
conserved.
less.
And so he should be paying more. According to the elected officials, he conserved, he should be paying more. So you should be writing out a check to the government and dropping it off tomorrow.
Cuts.
You've misunderstood something.
Tito,
You misunderstood.
close off your closing remarks.
If I unplug everything from my house for a whole month, guess what my bill's gonna be?
At least $20.
At least $20.
That's right. It's not gonna be hundreds of dollars. So
You think your delivery charge is going to go down?
the delivery charge is a proportion of
Of how much is used.
You think
how
so?
much is
You think so?
Yeah.
You know so?
Yeah.
You can tell me what makes up the delivery charge.
yeah. No, I can't tell you what makes it up, but I can
just
tell
tell
you
you
it's a
what the
proportion.
percentage is.
It's a proportion of how much you've used.
So how much of it is fixed?
Give me a calculator.
How much of it's variable?
Give me a calculator.
You think you could figure that out?
Yeah, right now.
Time's up for Tito.
Where's the calculator?
Time's up for Tito. That's your warning.
It's called the phone.
Breeze.
2016.
Closing remarks.
Energy.
Closing remarks for me.
He left it
Vote
home because his phone sucks.
responsibly.
Stop saying that.
Thank you, Gino.
It doesn't matter.
Big V, this is your warning before we mute your mic. Close it off,
Sorry,
JR.
this is past my bedtime anyways.
I just want to say that greening the system was not a bad target. I'm not going to disagree it wasn't achieved properly or at all, maybe not at all, but it definitely wasn't gone after in the right way. But it's in and of itself was not a bad idea.
I accept your apology.
And someone's gonna get the smackdown later.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to our show.
What's your last word on this? You were listening to us. What's your take?
Listen, when it comes to Earth Day and Earth Hour, I will have everything on. I will use all my electricity.
Champ's house will glow.
It itself will be nuclear.
I've got those rods on standby.
It's going to be that sky-piercing laser in every sci-fi movie.
Remember Colossus Theater with the
Yeah, exactly.
I'll have those.
Your house is going to be like Luxor. They can see it.
Yeah,
from space.
exactly.
All four corners and the
Wait a second.
and the
So,
peak.
are we not speaking about the mic jack for Apple?
Are we out of time?
We're out of time. That's another episode.
How much time
That's
do we have?
coming up. That is coming up. That's your warning, Breeze. That's your warning. We're going off topic.
That's 2 strikes.
Again, thank you for subscribing and exploring the podcast. We hope to see you in the next episode. So stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to the Crew Roundtable podcast. Join us again next time.